Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Acsom Bulletin. It's Tuesday afternoon, it's double trouble. Just the two of us today. I'm your host, Declan McConvo, and as per usual, I'm joined by Patrick McGill. Patrick, how are we on this rainy, wet Tuesday?
Not bad. Thankful for being able to do this inside instead of outside because the weather's absolutely shocking. But no, looking forward to the game on Thursday.
Yep, we are looking forward to the game on Thursday. Obviously, since we were last on, we've played in Germany and Europe, and we've had a victory against Aberdeen at Celtic Park. So we'll get into all of that. But we'll kick off with our tagline. Obviously, we're getting into December now. We're just the last day in November, and the transfer rumours are going to be ramped up majorly. We've already seen loads of players linked with Celtic so far, probably due to the fact that the squad is so threadbare. I think, if you look at the bench last Thursday evening and even on Sunday, there's not a lot to come off it still. And even what is there, I don't think Celtic fans are particularly trusting of, even though there is a £5 million striker on the bench. I still don't think Celtic fans are completely convinced that when you bring Albi Ayeti into a game that he'll do the job for you. So there's a lot of links, and there's obviously a lot of links with Ange Postecoglou's former league, the G League. We've saw one player come in from there in Kyogo Furuhashi, who's an absolute superstar. And last night, I think it was the Daily Record that broke the news that Reo Hatate, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. If there's any Japanese listeners or anybody that knows the league well, please do correct me. Could be set to join Celtic and possibly play before the December break and be in right away in the 1st of January. Ange Postecoglou, people think that it would solve his defensive problems, Patrick. He's a versatile defender and would likely slip in at left back. This would surely, be a deal that we'll all probably be happy with.
Yep, absolutely delighted if it goes through. I think he's the man that can play half a season at defensive midfield and half a season at left back. And I think it's probably two areas where we've got absolutely loads of cover, but none of them seem to be trusted by Ange. We've seen Beaton, Soro and McCarthy in that role throughout the season, and I think Beaton's almost making it his own. Unfortunately, he went off injured, of course. But, I think we've got like 5 left-back options, and we're still playing a right-back at left-back. So wherever Ange chooses to play him, when and if he comes in, I think he'd be a welcome addition. And I don't know what the rules are with the transfer window. I think you said there he could come in as early as the 1st of January.
Possibility.
I don't know
Depending on paperwork, I think is going to be the biggest sticking point for this year, and work permits. And obviously, COVID is still a never-changing situation. We're getting players into the country in isolation periods too.
Plus, fitness-wise, he'll have played a full season by that point as well, But, I think it would come too early for the game against Rangers for the game at Celtic Park. So I think you're probably looking at Alloa in the Cup for a debut there if he is to come in early. But no, looking forward to it, and hopefully it's the first of many January signings.
We've got some greetings coming in from Belfast, from Paddy. Good afternoon. We've also got Robert. Morning from Florida. Hello. But as you just rightly pointed out there, Patrick, and Donny's came in here to say that he's played a full season. That probably is a worry because we don't want burnouts when we get into March, April, May time. Obviously, we'll get 2-3 weeks off in January time, but like Kyogo, who doesn't seem to run out of energy at all. Again, on Sunday, he wasn't getting fed a lot of balls, but he was chasing down absolutely everything, which was forcing Aberdeen into making mistakes. But Hatate's out of contract. I think Celtic's transfer policy and strategy over the past, many years has been one that we've all kind of looked at and thought, it's a bit bizarre, but we certainly do have a manager in here. And it's clear this is an Ange Postecoglou signing rather than a Celtic signing, I would assume.
Yeah, it would have to be, wouldn't it? The signings this season have been, I think they've been relatively good. I think we've brought in 12 players, and I don't think you could write any of them off so far. Not all of them have played a lot of games. Not all of them have played well, but it is still very early in all their careers. And, guys like Kyogo, Jota, Abada, and Joe Hart, Carter Vickers as well, all came in and done a wonderful job. So it's been a bit scattergun in the past, especially with people like Ayeti and Barkas, as you spoke about, but hopefully it's getting better. I think we say that every year, but hopefully it's getting better. I seen that comment there saying that Hatate looks quite decent for all the YouTube clips. I abstained from that now totally because I'd convinced myself that Bio was going to 5 us to 10 in a row. So I'll be honest, I've not seen any of Hatate, but if Ange rates him, then you've got to trust the process and just roll with it.
Yeah, and this is another really interesting point coming in here from Linky67, and it was something that Ange spoke about in a press conference a couple of weeks ago, Patrick. He was saying that he wasn't just going to sign players to basically up the numbers in the team. He was going to want to bring people in that really fitted and suited the system. And obviously, this boy, if he's so versatile to play, left back, central midfield, and on that left hand side, then that's surely the type of player that really does suit an Ange Postecoglou's system.
Yeah, totally. And I'm sure everyone knows by now, I'm no fan of playing players out of position. But if he's a sort of Charlie Mulgrew type player, where he is genuinely quite comfortable in several different positions, then definitely a welcome addition to the squad. I think just looking at the stats from this season, he has mainly played central midfield and left back, which is where I was getting that from. But I mean, if he's able to play left wing, a bit like Adam Montgomery's not played it recently, but he can play there, then just another added benefit. And yeah, I think we're meant to be bringing in Maeda from Japan as well, who's a winger or attacking midfielder. So we'll hopefully have plenty of options in the second half of the season.
Yeah, we hopefully do. And, it's a market that I don't think a lot of European teams are looking at. And I think that's one of the massive benefits that we've had from Ange coming into the club because, Celtic were shopping in markets and we all knew about, looking at Premier League players like Ayeti that wasn't really, getting a turn. And then some other guys that have been brought in. Obviously, we had some really great dealings bringing in some of the younger French guys that have went on to make us a pretty penny. But it's good that we're shopping in markets once again that, people won't look at but can benefit us in Kyogo. I think one of the things me and you spoke about, when Ayer and Edward went out the building was who are we going to have for those big on sell-on fees. At one point, obviously, we don't want us to sell our best players, but we know that the model of Celtic is player trading. It's essential, especially in the COVID world. It's essential, and bringing in guys like this who are going to be further developed and coached by Ange, you're probably going to make a pretty penny off them because it's as if at this point there's still a kind of European snobbiness, which is one of the things that a lot of Celtic fans, a lot of people were just accused of when Ange got the job because we didn't know much about the J League. But the standard of player it's producing, I mean, if we get anything like Kyogo Furuhashi, they're going to give us something that we just don't have in the team at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think just about every football club in the world probably is hindered by sort of geographical bias. They probably have more scouts closer to where they are in the world than what they maybe should have. And Europe is sort of creme de la creme for professional football, league football, Bundesliga, Spanish league. But when it comes to scouting guys who are 16, 17, 18, there will be talented players all over the world. So it is important, as Ange said, to cast the net far and wide. I'm going to slightly disagree with you, actually, on selling players. I think it's, especially with people like Boyata, Simunovic and Encham, we could have netted 20 million for those three guys, and for the sake of holding on to them, because we hadn't, either we didn't have a player ready to come in, or we didn't think we could replace them with similar quality, we chose not to sell them.
But we should have.
Yeah, and all three of them went for nothing at the end of their contracts. I think we actually terminated Cham's contract, but we could have get just over 20 million for those three, I think, if the rumoured fees were accurate. But no, I think I read somewhere that we have a scout or two in Japan and we'll have Ange's knowledge as well. But I think it is important we have a couple in every continent because, Brexit as well will impact our ability to buy European players. So just need to look for the best value for money.
Yeah, and again, it's trying to build a team. And I think a lot of us forget 12 came in the summer. It's a massive turnover, and then we're probably going to add a good few in and try to get that right balance and right mix of players coming into the squad and actually just integrating into the squad. And Johnny's come in the comments to say just what we need, players that want to play for Celtic now. Hatate is out of contract at the end of January, and going by this newspaper article, he is wanting to come to Celtic to join his fellow countryman Kyogo. that also shows a real hunger to play under Ange, because there must be other players in this league now having a look at Kyogo and thinking, quite fancy a bit of that. And, maybe players that didn't know a lot about Celtic or know a lot about Scottish football certainly be looking at it and seeing the platform it's given, especially Kyogo's performances in the Europa League, which a lot more will take notice of than just the SPFL.
Yeah, 100%. And, even if it's a promising youngster who wants to make his way to Europe, he'll be looking at Celtic and thinking, this is literally the best possible route that I can take from Japan into one of the top 5 European leagues. Because, managers and players have all done it, going to Celtic and then to England, Celtic, then, Italy, Bundesliga. So whether it's a player like Kyogo who's 26 in his prime and can slot straight into the team, or whether it's an 18-year-old who it might take a year or two and then we can move him on and he can get his big move and stuff like that. But no, the comment's absolutely right. Anyone who doesn't want to play for the club obviously shouldn't be at the club. And I think that's the problem that we ran into last season, actually, with the 3 or 4 players who didn't want to be there. Seriously hindered our title chances. Not only that, we didn't get as much money for them as what we should have done.
Yeah, absolutely. And, 2 of those players that Sean's coming in the comments, and I'm going to throw this one over to you and I'll answer it as well. He is concerned that we might get rid of more players in January just due to the financial situation. I assume are just everything else and not replacing them, just like we did with Christian Edward. We still didn't replace him. We need to add numbers. Now, I would say that Kyogo was quite a seamless transition, actually, the replacement for Edward. Obviously, we saw the 2 of them featured against Hearts in the League Cup, and they linked up pretty well. I think Kyogo actually played out in the wing and Edward up top. But I would say Kyogo's been quite a seamless transition, and obviously we were watching Ryan Christie play under Ange at first. Jota's came in, and is fitted like a glove. So I would say we've replaced those 2 fairly okay. As long as we go out and buy Jota, that'll be done. Do you get any concerns that the Celtic board would look at anybody and try and punt them in January? Or is it now the point that they know they need to give this guy what he wants to succeed, and that the gamble and get doing that is well worth it if you win the league this year?
The gamble's definitely worth it. I think we actually replaced Edward quicker than what everyone imagined, because we started Edward up front at Ibrox, played Kyogo at a position, and I think the general consensus is if we played Kyogo through the middle, we would have fared better. I'm not saying we would have won or drawn, but I think we'd have fared better because he definitely suits Ange's system a lot more. Independent as of yesterday from the Monarchy. Anyway,
there we go.
This isn't a politics show.
No, but it definitely does suit his system a lot more. And I'm also in agreement with you. And again, that's down to the manager. And I think, Celtic board really get lucky in getting Ange in, because had you not had somebody that was maybe looking at these matches, might have had Eddie Howe looking at Dominic Solanke and try to bring him up for 8 or 9 million quid. And I don't know how well that would have worked out for us.
Disaster. I mean, looking back on that time, you're so delighted that fell through, unbelievable to say it, but what a miracle that was that didn't transpire. But no, when it comes to selling players in January, I think if we get an offer for like 30-40 million for Kyogo, you have to take a bid like that, because even if you just spend 10, you're probably replacing him. But, a bid like that isn't going to come in, but you just got to make sure you take a bid like that when it does come in. On Christie, actually, I was, we all know about his hover season last season, along with every other player, but I was quite disappointed when he left, because I thought he was a crucial part of the system early in the season. But as you say, Jota's came in, firing on all cylinders and just hit the ground running, and arguably our best player at the minute.
He absolutely is, and his goal at the weekend will obviously get on to the Aberdeen game, but it's another cracking goal, and crucial again last Thursday evening too. But no, one of our listeners, usual listeners, coming in to say 2 Japanese boys in plus Doig. Now I know you were a fan of Josh Doig, Patrick. I've not been too impressed on this season. At Hibs, I thought he's not been as consistent as he was last season. And then a box-to-box midfielder, maybe a number 10, 4 or 5, we can do it. Could you imagine as many bodies as that? And do you think Celtic would look at Doig again, or do you think that ship has sailed for Celtic?
I mean, if you're going to sign the 2 Japanese boys plus Doig plus a another box-to-box midfielder. You've got a hell of a lot of midfielders and left backs there. I mean, you can never have enough, but I just don't think it's likely that we go for Maeda and Doig, if I'm being honest. Not Maeda, Hatate and Doig. I'll be honest, I've only seen Hibs when Celtic have played them this season. I thought against Celtic he fared okay, but I think you must have seen him more than I have, so I'm not entirely sure. What I will say is they are having a poorer season compared to last season, so it's probably quite difficult to judge a player. I am slightly biased in favour of Scottish players. I think I've realised that over the past couple of months, so I don't know if I'm being totally honest in my judgment of Doig. But as I said a minute ago, we do have quite a few left backs, and I think Adam Montgomery's quite a promising young Scottish left back as well. Not only that, Doig's just signed a 6-year deal with Hibs, so how likely that is, I don't know. But I think we could do with a few more bodies depth-wise. I think you're probably looking at maybe right back and up front for players coming off the bench.
Yeah. Again, we'll touch on Bayer Leverkusen and the whole debacle around the subs. I know some people have said that he should have made the subs. People said he should have made the subs. And then we all know what was actually, there in the bench to actually make those substitutions. But Damien's come in here in the comments. Good afternoon from West Belfast. Good afternoon, Damien, from both of us. For the first time in years, I'm actually looking forward to a January transfer window with optimism. I would say I'm looking quite forward to this January transfer window, Patrick. I mean, probably the last time we all get excited in a January transfer window was when Robbie Keane signed under Tony Mowbray all those years ago. If you look at the past couple of years, I think it was John Joe Kenny, Ismaila Assoro, and Patrick Klimala is what we've brought in. So not much to be desired at this moment in time. But I think the whole language around rebuild and everything else, we knew it was going to take a good couple of transfer windows to do it. We're probably well ahead of the curve of where Celtic fans thought we would be at this point in time, sitting just the day before we head into December. We've got 10 games before the winter break and 9 games before the window actually opens. I would just assume that you're optimistic about this January transfer window and you just hope that, the manager is given what he wants in this transfer window.
Yeah. I think you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I think everyone suspects that the two Japanese guys, Maeda and Hatate, are sort of over the line. Knowing Celtic, it'll probably take them until the last hour of the window to confirm the second of those signings. But if Robert, we can get those,
thinks that this market is right up our seat with the prices, and I would tend to agree. I think that they really do set our price range, and we can trust Ange to sign the right players. Sorry, Pat, to interrupt.
No problem. And listen, I'll take a 38-year-old Iniesta any day of the week, by the way, and pay $5 million from him. But no, if we can get those two Japanese players in, and then I've actually not heard that many rumours about other players. You get the sort of the usual Kevin Nisbet and Aaron Hickey links, people like those guys. But I think if we brought on another attacking midfield player, because once you go beneath Turnbull and Rogic, you've got Ewan Henderson there, but he just doesn't seem fancied at all, and I think he's actually out on loan just now. But it's quite bare when it comes to attacking midfielders, so maybe another one of those. But yeah, I mean, as the comment said, I'm actually looking forward to a transfer window for once.
Yeah, I am too. And Martin, just to touch on this, and see in the comments, he's saying good afternoon to us both. And he just like to say the event at the Hydro last night with Larson sitting in Hearts was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I wasn't there myself. I know you went, Patrick, but it looks as if everybody had a rare old time. The King of Kings was back in town, and there was a few decent enough players. And amongst them, talking about attacking midfielders, I think Lubomir Moravcik and Alan Thompson was in there too. If we could get two players like that in to do the business for us, I'm sure we'd be well delighted if that was what came in. But going on that, we're talking about this in terms of, people are saying 5, 6 players maybe to come in. And Sean's saying that 6 players. Would you say that, we've got enough time in those couple of weeks to, let those guys settle into Celtic? Because we've saw Kyogo, 26-year-old Japanese boy, who's came with a great effort. Obviously, I think he's learning English and stuff just now. He's fitted in with the manager absolutely perfectly. You can see he's got a really good bond with his teammates. you think the transition will be seamless as that for some of the other guys, or is there a wee worry that bringing in so many into a settled group could upset the apple cart just a wee bit?
No, I think, when we sign players, I think you've got to look beyond the footballing ability. In 2013, you'd have probably taken a player of the ability of Mario Balotelli, but I think as we've seen at Liverpool in 2014, when you sign a guy like Mario Balotelli, it really can upset the dressing room because I think the character has to be right. He's got to be a consummate professional, and he's got to understand that he needs to work hard and earn the jersey and stuff like that. And I think Ange will look at that, Michael Nicholson will look at that, the scouts will look at that, and I think they'll get it right. Obviously, don't want to bring in about 12 players again. I think that would upset things, but I can't see us bringing in 12 players. I can't even see us bringing in 6 players, actually. I think you're probably looking at 3 or 4 because, as you said, Ange's looking for quality that fit the system. And even if we get 3 in, 2 of them being the 2 Japanese guys that we've already identified, I'd be quite happy with that.
Yeah. Another guy who probably would be like a new signing come that time is Chris Julian. We feel as if we're on repeat here and it's deja vu weekly because we don't have any update on him. As far as we know, Paul, I think he is in training, Patrick, but I don't think he's anywhere near it. The manager's not touched on him. The manager said that Roderick should be back for Thursday evening. Beaton should be too, and that Starfelt and Greg Taylor aren't far away, but absolutely no update on Chris Julian, who we're yet to see featured under Ange Postecoglou. It's a bit mental, Patrick, to think that was nearly a year ago that he clattered into that post, and I've not seen him since after a whole COVID scandal that he caused when he probably shouldn't have been there as an injured player. But
Well,
we
I
won't
don't
go
think
into
he
that.
caused it. I don't think he caused it.
No, I'm just saying that he was a man that
Aye, he was at the centre of things.
and I've not
Yes.
seen him since. So hopefully we do get him back because I think he would be like a new signing in January, Patrick. I really do because we've just
Yeah.
not seen him featured. And at the weekend, and in the past couple of games, obviously Vickers is going to miss out in the Leverkusen game, and we're going to get Starfelt returning. That means we'll have probably the option of Starfelt and Welsh at centre half for the Leverkusen game. But games like this would be important to get Julian back in and try and maximise the squad because I would say I've got confidence in Chris Julian to go in there and do a job. I wouldn't say he's a definite starter for me. I think when Starfelt comes back, it's going to be Starfelt and Vickers as he's, they're his players. But there's certainly a job that can still be done by Chris Julian if he does come back and gives his worth to Celtic.
Yeah, not only that, we've had, I think the 3 main starters this year have been Welsh, Carter, Vickers and Starfelt. Beaton's obviously played both at the back and the defensive midfield. And yet, of all those 4, Ralston is still our biggest threat from set pieces. And, long may it continue, but a guy like Julian, I mean, the amount of headers that Julian scores, it's unbelievable. So if he can
Big games.
yeah,
Big
I mean,
games as well.
even if he can get 10, 15 appearances second half of the season, because I think he was in the Christmas ad and that was filmed a month ago, and he was walking fine, but walking fine and playing centre half for Celtic, it's quite a big gap. So I think the manager said he was a couple of weeks away, but that was about 2 months ago. So hopefully someone asks him about it soon. And if I'm being honest, I think we'll be fine until the Alloa game on the 22nd of January. So if he can aim for then, I think I'd be quite happy.
Yeah, it would be nice to see him return before them. Robert Highlands came in the comments. Good afternoon. He's saying to us that we need some height. We're still losing goals at set play. I would say, in Starfelt and Vickers, I thought Vickers in Sunday Pat, it was absolutely immense. Once again, he's just really cool customer. You can always count him in to make that last challenge. I really do wonder where we'd be had we not got him in so late in the window there in the summer. Again, we speak about Jota so much, but I think he's a really important player to get in the pre-contract too because, sorry, not the pre-contract, the option to buy because he's been an absolute rock for us at the back, and I think he definitely suits what Ange's trying to do. But yeah, I would tend to agree with that. What's your thoughts on that? I think we are quite a wee team. I don't think you do need big 6'10" giants in there, but I do think we need a wee bit of height in there, especially when it comes to corner kicks, because something we spoke about on Thursday, and we've not got on to Leverkusen yet, was that sticking point of the corner once again. And in set pieces, we don't effectively probably use set pieces, especially corner kicks, as much as we'd like to.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I think we'd be looking to overtake Hearts or get closer to Hearts in the table if we hadn't got Carter Vickers in on a loan. I don't think we'd be ahead of them, because I think he's probably saved us a couple of points this season. I think he's probably our most important defender. All of them have been impressive in their own ways. Welsh looks like he can be up to standard most of the time, playing against SPFL and European opposition, and then Starfelt, Carter Vickers, really impressive. Ralston came onto a game this season, and Jovanovic is Jovanovic, but yeah, equally as important, and probably £5.5 million cheaper than Jota. So I can see us getting that one over the line pretty early in the summer, hopefully, because I think he's actually only 23, 24. But because of how physical he is, you just assume that the guy's 29, 30. But absolutely massive, massively important for us, and hopefully we sign him up.
Yeah, I think we will miss him against Real Betis. I know it isn't going to mean a lot in terms of looking at the Europa League, but in terms of just a big game that I think we'd like to win, we will miss him in that game. I was a bit gutted the other night when he picked up that booking and knew he would be out, but be rest for him might just do the world a good in that game. And obviously they'll come back to play another big game against Motherwell. Robert McEwen again has come in with a comment here to say Big Ange should mention Iran too. He sure did mention Iran too, and it's a breath of fresh air, Patrick, that we are looking at different markets and starting to act like a proper football club and pick players out of countries that they maybe wouldn't have went to before, and putting that kind of snobbishness that I spoke about to one side and going in there, because it has worked before. If you look at guys like Victor Wanyama and other players, it can work if you give somebody the chance to go and pick out the right player, and if you've got your scouting systems right and your scouts are doing their jobs properly.
Yeah, 100%. I've actually not heard that. I didn't realise he mentioned Iran. It's certainly not a market I would have thought of. That speaks to the snobbishness that you mentioned there. I can't comment on any Iranian players or the Iranian league, but I'm sure if it's safety wise and all that, if we've got scouts there, then they're looking at all the options, all the players, and probably cheaper than the Japanese market as well. I know we get Japan's best player in Kyogo for £3 or £4 million, but you can probably get Iran's best player for £1 or £2 million, if I'm being honest. So yeah, it's just about maximising resources, and there's a debate about whether £6.5 million for Jota is maximising resources. I happen to think it is. I think you'd struggle to get a player of that quality for less than £6.5 million. If we can, brilliant. But yeah, no, looking forward to the January window, and we've got a lot of work to do still.
Yeah, we do have a lot of work to do, and just to clarify that one in Jota, JJ Celtic's coming in to say if an EPL team offers say 7 or 8 million for Jota, he might be away. Patrick, what is your understanding of this? Because my understanding is that Celtic have first refusal to buy the player first before any clubs can get a sniff at him with the option to buy. The fee's actually already agreed. If you want to carry on with the fee, we have first refusal. I think the only sticking point would be the actual player himself, rather than any deal with the club. Is that how you understand it between Celtic and Benfica here?
Yeah, obviously, I don't think they can sell him to another team if we want to buy him. But at the same time, he can just refuse a contract at Celtic. One thing that is promising, he's obviously not came out and said that, oh yeah, I really want to sign permanently, because players just don't do that. But he has said that he enjoys it. We're growing as a team. They're all good friends in the dressing room. He's loving his football, and I think people need to remember as well, it's the first top level side that he's played for regularly. I think it was Valladolid last season. I think he only played 14 times, and I don't know how many of those are starts. So, you're talking about a 22-year-old, 23-year-old guy who's playing football regularly for the first time at the top level, and he's probably been wanting to do that for 4 or 5 years. and Celtic and Ange have given him the opportunity. So not only that, we're going to hopefully get competitive at a certain European level by next season as well. So I think it would be an attractive.
I think it was just about to say it would be an attractive proposition, which he sure would be. But the understanding is that Jota, if Celtic wanted to buy the player, then Celtic would have the first refusal on that. The only thing that could change about the actual deal is if Jota didn't want to come. I was just about to say that you were going to say it would be an attractive opposition there, Patrick. We were talking about wingers, another winger who is back in training, and we're being asked here by Stephen McDowell about this. Is any news in Karamoko Dembele? Obviously, we saw him featured, Patrick, early on pre-season, and to get a horrific tackle in the game against Sheffield Wednesday. I think it was Palmer, the Scottish international, that done him, and he's been out ever since. I know you're a fan. I think he's got something about him as well. We saw him featured, a very small part at the end of last season. Came on and scored a goal. I think that was against St Johnstone. He came on in Scott Brown's last game at Celtic Park. Do you think there's a future for Karamoko Dembele at Celtic? I think the contract is nearing up. One, do you think it'd be a good idea to offer him a contract? And two, do you think Celtic will offer him a contract?
Yes and yes. Whether he signs it or not, I don't know. Because, he's got something like 600,000 followers on Instagram. He's probably get, he's featured for the England under-18s. He's probably get quite a well-connected representative and a football agent. So he's probably got offers from all around the world. No doubt every single Premier League team would probably take him in the academy or sort of on their bench, I don't doubt Brendan Rodgers has probably looked at him for Leicester as well. But I'd definitely offer him a contract because the wages that we're paying Albin Ayeti and Vasilis Barkas and all these other players that don't get a game, you're as well signing up Karamoko Dembele on I don't know what he's earning, maybe 5,000 a week or something. I think it's well worth trying to keep him around as long as possible because even if he has one or two good seasons, maybe when he's 2021 we can sell him for a big fee.
There have been coaches come in the comments here to say Strachan staying and Ange seems happy. And I didn't really think last year I'd be having this conversation with you, but supposedly, I think it was Alan Nixon that put out the tweet there that Gavin Strachan was approached for the job at Hartlepool, Jeff Stelling's side, and but that's the only reason I know anything about Hartlepool.
Oh, I'm the same, mate. I'm the same.
Is because Jeff Stelling supports them, and he's turned it down. So yeah. Pretty a strange one, Patrick, but he obviously, started the Christmas ad with his laptop. He's been called a very important part of what we do here. Gavin's staying at Celtic. Are you happy about that? Because, I think all the conversations that we had last season seem to have went to the one side about Gavin Strachan and John Kennedy, and the manager seems to be quite happy with those two, as well as Stephen McManus.
Yeah, I wasn't overjoyed when I found out that they were going to be Ange's backroom team, I'll be honest. But he did make the point in his first press conference that these are guys who have been here for years, not Strachan obviously, but the rest of them been here for years and they've won a lot of trophies and had a lot of success with them. And they've worked under some pretty high quality managers as well, including the one they're working under just now. So why change a winning formula? On Gavin Strachan, I think people saw their form last season and then saw the laptop, put two and two together and get 7, I don't think the laptop was ever the problem. I think it was, the guys in charge. But, relatively happy that he's staying, if not for the football, for the comedy factor alone. I honestly don't know how big an influence he is, but it's working just now, so happy to keep him.
Yeah, and I think there have been coaches who got a point here. Why would we let him go with the Christmas reduction and this whole thing? Absolutely. Why would you let anybody go? So Gavin Strachan is not leaving Celtic. He's quite happy. Do you think that was one of his father's recommendations when he was in doing his wee stint there for a few months? I think that's over now, Patrick, that we definitely keep a hold of Gav.
I think that's just come to an end, hasn't it? Because I think we beat Dundee 6-0 in August, and it was like the next day they announced that role. So I think he's probably left a few weeks ago. Thank goodness. But yeah, keep my son would probably be a a good recommendation, you know.
Do you think, actually on that point, it's something that's not really spoken about a lot, but do you think that, Gordon, not Gavin, Gordon's had any influence in there? Obviously, we saw Antoine McElhone come in during that period there. Again, I don't think the football department since then has really been added to at all. We've kept with the same three coaches. McElhone's the only real development in there. Do you think he had any kind of hand in that, a recommendation? And in terms of looking forward to players, do you think he's had sit down conversations with fans to talk about the whole football department at the club, or was he just there as a go between board and manager?
He's probably had quite a few conversations with Ange, whether he was responsible for McElhone, I think you said. I don't know. I mean, if his only influence was getting Lee Griffiths to join Dundee on loan, I think he's done a fantastic job. If that is his one contribution in this role, then I'm delighted with it. Getting back, but he's probably left now. There was no official announcement from the club on it. There was no official announcement from the club on McElhone. It's disappointing, in my opinion, when these things don't get announced and it's not clear to the fans what's happening. But it's anyone's guess what the influence was. I think the consensus was that it was one of Dermot's mates, and he was trying to exert more influence in the boardroom and on the football department, which I'm not a fan of. I think you should just sort of let Ange do what he's doing and back him, basically.
Yeah, we definitely should back him. And on that point with Gordon starting to come in, I think there was a lot of worry about the actual appointment in. But again, I found a comment that really strange at the AGM at Celtic saying that they like to just do their business behind closed doors and not out in the open. But I think as season ticket holders, both of us would like Celtic to be far more transparent with us and letting us know what's going on, because I think from bits of fan media pressers and stuff that McElhone has had an influence in that Celtic dressing room, and for the past year and a good bit, Celtic have not had a lot of praise for many things, but they could have got a bit of clout behind at least announcing that, because it was a position that we know desperately needed filled, and it has been filled with somebody who seems to be doing a pretty good job at it.
Yeah, and he worked at Tottenham, and of the big six, Tottenham sort of get mocked for being this sort of pretend big team, but in the large context of world football, they're operating at an extremely high level, and if McElhone was good enough for them, then it is a bit of a coup for us, whether people like it or not. It's just, I think that's the regret with Dominic Mackay. He was meant to be this sort of new communications man, and what happened with the football side of things and the business side of things, we don't know. But it's disappointing that the communication seems to have been back to the old ways again, where we don't communicate properly with fans. And announcing a sports scientist, I don't think that's doing stuff in the open. I think that's just sensible. And we've seen with Motherwell away, we won 2-0 away to Motherwell in the middle of October. I think everyone was saying after the game how fit we looked, going right up into the 90th minute, and that was only a few weeks after McElhone came in.
Yeah, right. Speaking on fitness, we need to tackle that. Last Thursday evening, Bayer Leverkusen, we're winning the game. We make the substitutions. We basically take off the full front three within 4 minutes. Then go on to lose the game 3-2. In many ways, it paid dividends. We went to win the game on Sunday. And I thought on Sunday watching the game, Patrick, I know you agreed to me, that we looked like a team that had played Thursday evening, got back late, went to Bertie's funeral and Friday, and not had a lot of time to actually train and rest. In terms of the subs on Thursday, what was your thoughts on it? Because I think, with the amount of games that we've got 10 games now up until the break. I think from now on, we've played 2 of them. Or it's 10 or 11 games, I think we're 10 in December. We've got a massive amount of games. We don't have a lot of depth. Was he right to take off those players at that point in time? Or what was your thoughts on it?
I don't think you can say anything other than no, because he took off those players and we conceded 2 goals and lost the game. How you can say that was the correct decision, I don't know. I mean, Ange knows better than me the players' fitness, the players' quality, football tactics. But it can't have been worse if we kept players on. I don't think we'd have lost 4-2 if we kept those players on. Surely not. The players that came on as well, I think it was Hatate, Abada and Mikey Johnson were the front three. And
the golf and quality to me is just completely different. I mean, maybe case can be made for Abada and James Forrest, but for the other
Abada
two,
had a good August, the rest of them, Hatate hasn't had a good anything. Mikey Johnson had a good August 2019, the guy's just, whether it's, I don't know if they're not up to quality just now or they're not up to quality at all, but Ange has been here for 5 months now working with these players, and I think he's been working with people like Hatate and Johnson from the start, and he still can't get anything out of them. So, I'm just not entirely sure it's going to work out for these players, and this is where the depth thing comes in. If we want to compete at that level, and don't get it wrong, we've competed against Bayer Leverkusen in both games. The first game didn't seem like it, but we had our chances, and we could have got something. I think, as daft as that may sound, we lost 4-0, but I think we've been competitive in all 4 games, and if it wasn't for a lack of depth, I think we might have get through in the Europa League.
Yeah, Bill. Paul's come in here in the comments saying we need to be able to rely on Jota and Kyogo for 90 minutes. Leverkusen trust their big guns for 90 is why we rest players in easy league games. Is there an easy league game for you at this point in time, Patrick? Because certainly if you look at, Bayer Leverkusen, in Leverkusen in the first evening and then returning to play Aberdeen at home, not a lot of time between both games. I think probably my perspective on it was it's okay to make those subs if you've got the depth to, replace them if you're going to maybe take off a Jota and say Maeda does come in and that's the sub that you're making. It's, eachy peachy, but at this point in time, what we've actually got there in terms of the quality and the gulf between both players, I just don't think we're able to do it. And I can get why he did it, but I just don't think he knows what he's got there, that we can actually make those subs, especially taking the whole front three off in the space of 4 minutes. If you're maybe going to do that, it's maybe a case of spreading that out. But I think he was fairly self-aware of that after the game and saying that, we're not at this level yet. And I think the impact he expected them to have in the game just wasn't there for him.
Yeah, I think the impact that he wanted was just sort of, keep pressuring their defenders and don't make any mistakes and get back when you need to get back because there's only 15 minutes to go, Unfortunately, didn't work out. But no, we just need more depth. And as Ange said, you need quality depth. You can't just have players that play a position, because that's what Hatate and Mikey Johnson are at the minute. They might come onto a game, I don't know, but they're definitely not good enough for where we want to be. Mikey Johnson's playing games against Hearts, Rangers, Livingston, and isn't up to scratch. And we want to be at a level where we're competing with Bayer Leverkusen. So players like that are well off it.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
AGSC text came in here. They said there'd been a film watch in Europe this season, but we didn't really succeed. That's my worry for the SPFL. Are we cynical enough? And can we be better at set pieces? Patrick, I didn't think, beating Aberdeen 2-1 was kind of in the Ange mould either. Thought we were going to be really up there or down there, but we are showing signs of a team that can grind out victories when you really need to. I know, obviously, the game against Livingston is not one of those examples, home or away, but, as we progress a wee bit here, we are starting to show a wee bit. And again, one of the points I'd make about Leverkusen is that Giakoumakis, I know we've not seen a lot in terms of him in front of goal, free scoring, but in terms of, like we came on against Ferencváros, say, I thought he held the ball up very well. And if we did look to do that in Thursday, we did that job so much better than Albion and Hatate. Do you think we've got, got it in us to just kind of grind out games like that we did on Sunday there that can, eventually take you to a league title and win games 2-1, 1-0, say?
Well, that Ferencváros game, funnily enough, we're 3-1 up. And, I don't want to pick on him, but Mikey Johnson makes a mistake and it ends up being 3-2. It is a good finish. But as you say, Giakoumakis, that is one part of the game he's done really, really well so far, holding the ball up, winning fouls. For such a big guy, he wins some amount of fouls. We did do really, really well against Aberdeen to see out the game. We spoke about McElhone and the fitness. That plays a factor. Jovanovic clears that off the line. I'm not sure if that's 1-1 or 2-1 he does that, but it's an important header either way. And, they did have a few half chances. They got the ball up the park. But no, it is important to see these games out because as dominant as we are, 2-1 it's a fine margin, It can change the course of your season if you concede one goal. So important that we held on.
Paul's asking, and sorry, he's saying here that we've been grinding out games for a while now, relying too much on Jota. He thinks it's simultaneously worrying and encouraging. Need to see some actual Ange ball again soon. But Ange ball is free flowing attacking football. It's aggressive pressing. It's being up in people's faces and doing that. I think at times, though, even we are grinding out games, there is signs of that. I mean, Kyogo, for instance, in that St Johnstone game, was constantly at Xander Clark, and that is what leads to the goal that James Forrest eventually gets. But I think personally for this month, it's just all about results. If we can get 3 points each game, I'm not going to look into it too much because I think we will add to the squad in January, and hopefully after a wee break, it might just be a completely different team once again.
Yeah, you were saying there about the St Johnstone goal. That comes from pressing, winning a second ball, immediately attacking their goal. We cut back, lucky deflection, and Forrest has a half volley. You go away to Leverkusen, and if our second goal isn't free-flowing attacking football, I don't know what free-flowing attacking football is, because that second goal was phenomenal. I think it might be goal of the season. And we even get Frimpong involved in it, which was just amazing from Beaton, the foresight there. And then, of course, our opening goal against Aberdeen, the chip over the top from Turnbull, the wee touch from McGregor, and the finish is phenomenal. So, we can't do Ange ball for 90 minutes. They're not machines, they're human beings, and they've played a lot of games already this season. But we are scoring good goals, we're holding on, we're getting 3 points. And, December's always a tough month anyway. It was obviously awful last year because of, last year. But we always pick up injuries, we always drop a couple of points, and I think you just need to scrape it out, really.
Yeah, but we do need to scrape it out. And again, one of the comments coming in here is, we do need to grind out these games and then win games we don't deserve to win, using set pieces and being more cynical. That's again from AGSC Tech. Have you watched us in any games this season, Patrick, and probably thought, we didn't deserve to win that, but we've got the win? Or would you say when we have grinded it out, we have, thoroughly deserved to win the match?
No, I think every game that we've won, we've deserved to win, to be honest. And I think the stats will probably reflect that. However, we have lost games that we didn't deserve to lose. So we'll need to, these things balance themselves out, allegedly, in the course of a season. So we're going to end up winning games that we don't deserve to win, because I think we'll have to if we want to win the league title. But yeah, just need to keep on grinding out results, and if we can just grind out good results for December and then kick on playing Ange ball from January till May, I'll be more than happy.
Yeah, I'll be more than happy as well, because when it's at its best, it's really good to watch, by the way. Again, coming in from AGSC Tech saying that Leverkusen didn't deserve to beat us. I don't think Joe Hart deserved to concede 3 goals the other night either. I thought he had a great performance, and at times, some of the Celtic players really, Kyogo, Jota, a good few of the other boys just didn't deserve to even beat on and didn't deserve to be in the end there a defeat. But it did, because it happened, because they call it their subs just higher than others. It happens. They were missing 5 players on Thursday, Patrick. They are a very good side. They play in one of the best leagues in the world. To me, Thursday evening was a clear progress in 8 weeks under Ange Postecoglou, with a squad that was very similar to what he had in the first game, but it is developing and it can only get better. And I think things will get better under Ange Postecoglou if the Celtic board give him the backing that he needs and he gets the time to work with these players properly.
Yeah, I mean, the 4-0 home defeat, although we played well, was probably a low point in the season. That was probably when people's doubt in Ange was at its highest point, and ever since then we've been absolutely phenomenal. Even when we lost on Thursday, we were phenomenal. If only games finished on the 86th minute, would I get a 2-2 draw?
Don't start to sound like the Aston Villa manager now.
Oh, well. No, just, looking forward to Hearts and Dundee United. because it's just another opportunity.
Yeah, it's a massive opportunity. Obviously, back to domestic games. Aberdeen was that first league game that we got. Obviously, we get the St Johnstone League Cup semi-final out of the way, but getting back to SPFL games is important. Ian McMillan's came in the comments here to say we looked at our team on Sunday, relying too much on our better players. We need reinforcements of a better level than we currently have to win the league. I totally agree with you on that. I think you do as well, Pat. As I said, Doreen, I think that we looked like a team that went toe-to-toe for a long period of time in Germany on the Thursday evening, had went to Bertie's funeral and Friday, then returned probably for a very light training session on Saturday, then played the game on Sunday. Patrick, the break, it's 10, 11 games away. How important is that going to be for Ange to get a couple of weeks for his players in the training ground properly? Because he'll have time with some of them when, the likes of Kyogo, McGregor, Turnbull go away in international duty. There'll be some of them left behind. But there's a good part of that Celtic contingent go out and play an international, go out and play for their countries. So how important do you think that wee 2-week period could be? And, the rest of the season, just getting in that training ground again and trying to reinforce all the basics that he's trying to do with this team.
Yeah, I mean, we've been quiet on a sort of warm weather holiday or warm weather training camp. It was more of a holiday last year, of course.
I think they'll be based in the UK this year.
Yes, certainly. I don't think it'll be Dubai anyway. I think that'll be the last country they go to. I mean, it's obviously important to our season, and travel restrictions have eased up since then. A lot of the, at least the northern hemisphere of the world has been vaccinated, so that opens things up. But I'm hoping that I think the players all sort of get Ange's football and philosophy as it is anyway. But spending more time with him in the training ground for 2 weeks won't hurt us at all.
No, it definitely won't hurt us. And one of their comments here from Monty is Hart has been great for us, good keeper. I think he is a person that doesn't get as much credit he deserves. When you think back to, we were chopping and changing last season, we went from Barkey to dub his term from Neil Lennon to Scott Bain to then Conor Hazard, then it looked as if it was just getting drawn out a hat weekly. And the goalkeeper
it probably was.
But I tell you something, seeing Sunday, see when it went down after that challenge, I was worried because Scott Bain coming on just does not fill me with confidence at this point in time. I'm sure you agree on that one.
I thought you were going to make a comment about, you feared for his health and safety, but no, all about Scott Bain. No, obviously he wasn't moving for a while, so it was a bit of a concern. It's always a worry when players go down and they sort of stay down, even when the medical team come over. But no, I think he would be a big miss, and that's actually, we spoke about transfers earlier in the bulletin. That's actually an area where I would move everyone on. You could maybe give Conor Hazard more time, but Bain and Barkas for me aren't good enough. I couldn't tell you ever in the team where I was impressed with Scott Bain, I'll be honest. Barkas speaks for itself. There were moments last season, and then just about every game this season, he's been an absolute nightmare. And I think it might just be one of those players. It's like Shane Duffy or something, or even Johansson in his second season. It just works at a different club. It just doesn't work here, and it's unfortunate, but it's especially unfortunate because it's a £4.5 million mistake. But I think we need someone of Hearts quality or slightly less to be on that bench, because Scott Bain coming on, I think the full ground was a bit nervous at that prospect.
Yeah, when he started warming up, I thought, oh, here we go again. But thankfully not, and Joe Hart was okay. That gives us a good link to Thursday evening. Our former goalkeeper is, of course, the Heart of Midlothian captain, and Craig Gordon. Hearts, Patrick, 1-2-0 at the weekend against St Mirren. A couple of weeks ago, they got a really good result against Dundee United to, put themselves just a wee bit ahead of the curve of them. They sit third just now, Hearts. They are 2 points behind us. They have played a game more. We, of course, do have the superior goal difference. What is your thoughts been on Hearts so far this season? Of course, we've played them twice. First game was the opening day. I think we're a long way away from that game at Tynecastle, and then we played them in the League Cup at Celtic Park. And they did come into the game a wee bit more, but this is a big game to really lay down a mark, and this is going to be a real good test for Celtic, I think, on Thursday. And again, the players are going to have a wee decent break. I know it's only 3 days before they play again, but that is a break, I think, to some of the Celtic players.
It perplexed me why it was a Thursday, but I think it will work out in our favour. But yeah, I mean, I think we can go. I think if Dundee United win tonight, we go 5 clear of Hearts. Well, if we win and Dundee United win, we'll go 5 clear of Hearts, 4 clear of Dundee United with a game in hand, which would be pretty good going. And as you say, I think it's actually people at Celtic won't talk about it like this, but I think it is a chance for a bit of revenge because at Tynecastle, I think we were the better team. We scored a goal that should have made it 2-1, but the referee decided to rule it out for unknown reasons. He also chose not to send off Andy Halliday for what is the most blatant of red card challenges on Callum McGregor I think you'd ever see. So in terms of the game at Tynecastle, we're due beating them in the league. And then at Celtic Park, I thought they got away with one. It finished 3-2. It should have finished about 8-2 because we absolutely scalped them. So we're due beating someone by a few goals, and we're due beating Hearts by a few goals as well. So I'm really, really looking forward to the opportunity to do that on Thursday.
Yeah, I think we'd probably prefer as well if it's at Celtic Park and not Tynecastle, as though even though I would still be confident going there.
I'd happily thump
Obviously
them at
that
Tynecastle as well.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, obviously that big run of fixtures that we had very early on was difficult. We were going to these grounds, and now it's kind of our turn to get the games at home. And I think with the crowd behind us and just really going at teams, there's certainly optimism there that we can just really gather momentum through this month and put a really good run of form together and see where we are come the 2nd of January. Obviously, Hearts, Patrick, they've not been as consistent as they were start of the season. I think they get beat at Firth Park 2-0 the other week. It's a bit of a surprise result, but Robbie Nielsen certainly got them playing some good football. They only just came back into the league last year. They're certainly probably at in a place where they'd be happy to remain for the rest of the season. And Firth, where their derby rivals were, finish the season off in. How do you think they'll come to Celtic Park? Will they sit in, pack in? Or do you think they might have a go at us? Obviously, they've got Boyce up there that can cause problems, or will they be a bit like Aberdeen and try and put the boot in very early on?
I think they'll. I think they'll put the boot in over the 90 minutes. To be honest, I think they'll probably take inspiration from St Johnstone and Livingston. St Johnstone, although it might not seem that way to us, probably thought themselves unlucky to lose 2-0 back in October. Livingston obviously got the result 0-0. That was our fault though because we missed the penalty. But they're, you can use the word physical. They got away with several fouls, is how I see it. Livingston did as well. So I think if it's another sort of lenient refereeing performance, we could say, I think that's what Hearts will set out to do. And if we are on our game, it won't work because we've got too much quality. But it's all about how we play.
Yeah, and again, I think I'm right in saying that Jota's not played against Hearts this season at all, because when we played them in the League Cup, Edward was up in front and Jota came in just after
Carter Vickers as well
left, and I don't think that's another one that's not played against them. So we're still to see a couple of players play against them. Rogic, Patrick, to me, is going to be a massive boost coming back in Thursday evening too. He should definitely be back in. I know he wasn't on the bench on Sunday, but Rogic coming back in, I think at times, I don't know if you've noticed that a lot of the time, Kyogo's still making absolutely sensational runs and stretching defences, but we just don't have that wee cutting edge just to play that ball through. And even Beaton coming back in for games like this could be a big player, because I thought again on last Thursday when he came off, that was one of the points when the game changed too. I thought it was absolutely outstanding in Leverkusen.
Yeah, I don't know if both of them will be starting the game because he might give Turnbull a rest. He might stick with McCarthy. It's hard to tell, but I think you've got to be going with McGregor, Turnbull, and Rogic. If all three are fit and available to start, I think that's the team you have to go with, because they're going to be physical anyway. Beaton has the capacity to be riled up in games like this. Make a stupid foul and stuff. But no, I think you've got to go with your best 11 and just Ange ball, try and outscore the opposition.
Yeah, I think Beaton would probably actually suit this game, but again, as you say, it is a risk probably bringing two players that's just returning from injury back in. You mentioned James McCarthy. What was your thoughts on his game on Saturday? Played a really lovely ball through that led to second goal. But one of the moments that amused me quite a bit was, everybody was shooting for the team to go forward, and he played a pass to the side and was going to calm down. I think, going on that on Sunday, I think if he's going to, grow a wee bit into the jersey in terms of game time, it could be an important player for us going forward, especially if he's going to put those wee cutting edge ball passes through. I'm sure Kyogo Furuhashi would be happy with a ball like that any day of the week.
Well, he played it through to Jota against Wraith Rovers, didn't he? It was an identical ball, Unfortunately, Abada couldn't finish it, but McGregor got his backside to it from the clearance. No, it was a good ball, and Lawrence has spoken about it quite a bit. In fairness, that he played as an attacking midfielder in his youth, and he's obviously still got that in him to play those balls, because it's one of the ones that you don't always see it until it's played. And credit to him for seeing it. I actually thought Abada was offside, but he was well on in the end. But no, yeah. I mean, he's got 3.5 years on his contract, so he's got plenty of time to feature. There's no rush for him to sort of, like a Mikey Johnson or an Albion Ayete. He doesn't need to stake a claim in the team. He's got plenty of time. He's probably not. He could well retire at the end of this contract. So, yeah, I mean, as long as he does a job.
Yep. We'll see what happens with James McCarthy. Thanks to everybody that's come in the comments as per usual today. I know it was only the two of us. Lawrence should hopefully be joining us next week, but we'll see what happens. Celtic transfer-wise, whether Hatate will be in January, whether Maeda will be in. Other players we might be linked with this month. I forgot to say at the start of the show, happy St Andrew's Day to everybody listening, and also happy birthday to my friend Matt McGlone, who's celebrating his birthday today. Happy birthday to Matt if he's tuning in. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. Your support is always welcome. You'll probably see our charity weekender is very slowly upon us. If you look at Acsom Pod on Twitter or at Paul John Diggs Twitter, you'll see all of our guests that will be joining us this week. Hopefully you can tune into that. We'll raise a few quid for charity. But thanks to everybody for joining us, and thank you for listening to and watching A Celtic State of Mind.